I can't force people to use this Public Service Guarantee Act. It's something people have to do. They have to be made aware of what this act is all about and then go out and use it. So one hopes that these institutions together, the right to information and these sort of bodies, they will sort of gel together, their workings will come together, and you will find over time that transparency really does improve the quality of governance. I know from personal experience that it does have an impact on either you're completely blasé and you couldn't care less what people think, in which case I don't think politics is really where you want to be. Because if you're completely sort of either clueless or thoughtless about what people think about you, then I mean a democracy is hardly the place for you. You really need a dictatorship where you can function. But if you have a certain amount of concern about how you are perceived or how you are seen, then yes, the right to information will impact how you decide to function, how you operate. I can tell you from personal experience that before I got asked questions under the right to information as to how many trips I'd taken in the state plane or the state helicopter, I was far more sort of casual in the use of the state asset than I am now. And it's a fact. Every time now I have to take a flight, I sit back and ask myself, is there a commercial option I can exercise before I exercise the option of using the state plane? And this is purely the result of the right to information. Because I know for a fact, at some point in time, somebody is going to ask my Chief Information Commissioner to get this information made available to them as to how many flights I've taken, how much has been the expenditure on my flight, and who all have been in the plane with me. So why should I not then amend? I mean, either, as I said, either I'm not bothered by what the answer is, and I couldn't care less, which I do. I do care and I am bothered, and therefore I use it less. Similarly, how much money we spend on repairing our official government homes. I can guarantee you a few years ago nobody would care less. At best there would be one odd question, an unstarred question in the legislature, how much money was spent on so-and-so's house. There'd be a small paragraph in the middle of nowhere which would get 5 minutes of attention and then nothing. But now, with the right to information, you don't know how many people are going to ask this question. You don't know how, this information is going to be used. And therefore, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It makes you more accountable. It makes you more aware of how you are using the limited resources of your state or your country. At the end of the day, we have to be accountable to the people because they are who have put us there. Which then leads me to my final point, which is that to what extent should we now start looking for exit options from the right to information? If we are the sort of custodians or guardians of transparency, it looks a little strange that on the one hand we want transparency for everybody else, but we don't want transparency for ourselves. Now, as of now, my party is not on that list of parties that has to be part of the right to information. And I don't know whether my party would agree with what I have to say. But if they did ask me what I thought, I would believe that it is justifiable for my party to come under the burden of the right to information. Because at the end of the day, I receive a benefit from the government that all organizations do not avail of. At the end of the day, for the money that my party collects, I get an income tax exemption. Correct? Yeah. I don't handle the books of my party, but I do understand that political parties' collections are exempt from income tax. If that be the case, then I am accountable. And I'm not just accountable to the Election Commission. I'm not just accountable to the Finance Department. I'm accountable to the people of India. Because at the end of the day, the money that otherwise would have been collected in income tax would be available for other development activities, would be available to use elsewhere. And I'm not paying that money. And therefore, I should necessarily not just accountable to the Election Commission, not just accountable to the Income Tax Authority, but I should be accountable to the country as a whole as a result of the right to information. And I'm not here to pick a fight with political parties who think differently than I do. As I said, I don't even know if my own political party would agree with what I've had to say today. But it's something I believe in. And the same is true for institutions or organizations. Why should the BCCI ask for an exemption from the right to information? By all means, take an exemption. but then pay income tax and make yourself at par with all the other organizations. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that I will not pay income tax and I will get this sort of concession and that sort of concession, but at the same time I will not open myself up for scrutiny from organizations that I'm uncomfortable answering questions for. Because at the end of the day, and that is I think the important part, nobody can force us to share information that we don't ordinarily collect or that we don't ordinarily use in our day-to-day operations. As a political party, if there are records that I keep in the ordinary functioning of my political party, then those records should be made available to people. And if I don't keep those records, then I can't be forced to. So I don't see what the problem is. And if it's my accounts that I'm worried about, well, I share those accounts anyway, don't I? I share those accounts with the Income Tax Department, I share those accounts with the Election Commission of India, and if I can share them with them, I see no reason why I can't share it with everybody else. I'm not sure how this debate will play out. I think in the short term, you will find that most of us, while happy to talk to you about the right to information, will say it's better for you, it's not as good for me. But that's fine. We are normally better with do as I say, don't do as I do. But sometimes that's what politics is all about. I think over time this will stabilize. It will mature. We will realize that sharing information is not a bad thing. It is actually a good thing. It improves our functioning, as it has improved the functioning of government. I know from time to time certain sections use it as an excuse not to decide. I've heard this from officers at various levels saying, this right to information is now hanging over us as a sword and we don't know what to write on a file and what not to. When you write the right thing, if you've done the right thing, if your decision is right, you have nothing to worry about. What you have to worry about is if your notings are flawed or if what you've done is wrong. Another thing we have to guard against, I don't know how you can, is this sort of use by some elements of the right that they have to gather information as a tool for blackmail. I don't know whether there is a means to protect against this, but I have seen it happening. I'm not saying it's as widespread as to be a major problem, but it is something that happens from time to time. You will find black sheep in sort of any setup. And therefore, there are those who use the right that this sort of legislation has given them to ask questions, to use it more as a means of you scratch my back, otherwise I'm going to use the right to information to make your life miserable. That sort of thing. It has been known to happen. I know it's happened in my state. I can assume that there are some of your states where this has happened as well. Is it something we need to guard against? Is it something we can guard against? Or in the normal course of business, will we always have these sort of elements who will come up and try and abuse the system? I don't know. I honestly would leave that to your wisdom and to your better judgment. But I will end with the same sort of sentiment that I began with, which is that it indeed has been a matter of privilege and an honor for me to have been invited. I'm acutely aware of the very limited number of people who have had this honor before me, and it puts me in a very sort of exalted list of speakers who have come here before me. And all I can do is wish Mr. Mishra and Mr. Sharma all success as they move on from what I believe has been a successful term in the Central Information Commission. I hope that they will continue to remain flag bearers of this need to continue a transparent system, and will continue to give us the advantage of their wisdom and their sort of experience that they've gathered, not just in their term as information commissioners, but in their long term as having served this country in various capacities. So once again, thank you all for having me here.